My name is John that I'm 35 years old. Because of this recession, I too have been hit hard that I've been making screws at a company called K Company for the past 5 years. Originally, I joined as a salesperson, but I ended up doing everything from on-site work to management at IT. Was only 2 years ago that I finally started to focus on sales at IT. That time, I was assigned Z Corp by a senior colleague. Just then, the person in charge at Z Corp changed to Mr. Smith. It didn't turn into a "let's both try our best." With a fresh start situation, this Mr. Smith from Z Corp was quite the tricky customer. What makes him tricky is that he always demands discounts. Negotiating discounts isn't particularly unusual, but Mr. Smith's way of negotiating is underhanded. For instance, he says,
"Hey, isn't this kind of high? Charging this much is like ripping people off, don't you think? No one's going to deal with you in the future. I'm telling you this because I don't want that to happen. Maybe you could study your pricing a bit more."
"Ha. Sorry."
No, what I want to hear isn't "sorry," okay? I mean, set your prices with a bit more sincerity. Not many people will give you advice at this age, you know. I've lived longer than you, so it's better to listen to what someone with more life experience has to say. Plus, our companies have been doing business for 10 years, so you should think a bit more about your pricing, right?
I understand what you're saying. But we've set our prices as low as we can.
Ah, I see. Got it, got it. Then, let's leave it at that for now.
Because Z Corp is superior, it's always like this. Amidst all this, our company finally had to raise prices. When I told Mr. Smith, he made a terrible face.
Come on. Are you kidding? That's too high. Are you taking us for fools? Doing business like that will bankrupt you. You'll end up with no one to deal with.
However, this is as far as we can go. We're already at our limit for the sake of Mr. Wilson. So sorry, but we can't go any lower. Could you please work with us at this price?
Don't mess with me. We're not running a charity here. Parts are too expensive. If you don't want a $3 million contract to end, show some sincerity with a discount. Without us, you can't make that kind of sales, right?
Seeing Mr. Smith's smirk, something in me snapped. Ah, is that so? If you say it's impossible, then it can't be helped. We can't lower the price any further, so should we consider this transaction over?
Hey. What's with you, John? Why are you so mad?
Because, this is the lowest price we can offer, so we have no choice but to end the contract.
Getting all defensive isn't going to help anything. We've been in a long relationship, right? So there should be some room for negotiation.
Seeing Mr. Smith's face turn pale was telling that he probably didn't expect me to say something like that. No, it's fine. I'm not angry. I'm just stating the facts. This is the lowest price we can offer. Any lower and we go into the red. So, we have no choice but to end our contract with you. Besides, Z Corp isn't our only client. We also sell these screws, or rather parts, to other companies. Quite a few have shown interest. So, don't worry about us. Thank you for everything up till now.
Wait. Do you really think that's okay? Are you even acting like a professional? Weren't you taught not to act on emotion alone?
Acting on emotion. Is that an introduction to yourself? I've dealt with you sincerely, after all. If you can't accept that, then it can't be helped. So, That's it. I picked up a product from our company that was on the desk, bowed, and left the room. Damar. Smith looked like he wanted to say something as he watched me go, but there was no obligation for me to initiate any conversation. By chance, President Wilson was standing in the hallway. I approached President Wilson and said, "I'm sorry to bother you when you're busy, Mr. Wilson. I came to inform you that we will be discontinuing our dealings with Z Corp from now on."
What? What do you mean, John? Why would you do something like that? Was there some kind of problem? I believe you were supposed to be meeting with our Mr. Smith today.
No, there wasn't a problem. We just couldn't agree on the price. Since we can't lower our prices any further, I'm sorry, but we have to end the transaction. President Wilson looked utterly astonished that I bowed to such President Wilson and left the building. As I got into the car, I saw Mr. Smith running towards me.
Hey, just a sec, John. Wait up. It was all just our usual joking around.
Joke or not, no, I've had enough. Z Corp makes screws too, right? You can just use those. We've had enough dealings with Z Corporation. Thanks for everything so far.
Is it really okay for you to decide something so important on your own? Won't Mr. Williams, the president, be sad to hear about this?
Well, who knows? But the matter with Z Corp was entrusted to me, so it's all according to K Company's rules. There shouldn't be a problem. Take care, then.
Wait. Hold on.
Mr. Smith started running after my sales car as I drove off. But he disappeared from view partway through, so I guess he must have stumbled somewhere. I returned to K Company and explained the situation to the president.
We can't afford to lower our prices any further, and it was a good decision. How many years we've been in business together doesn't matter. Getting too comfortable because of a long-term relationship only leads to being taken advantage of. We need to stand our ground. If it's too much trouble, it's better we cut ties ourselves. You did well, John. Leave the rest to me. I'll make sure to have a talk with the president of Z Corporation. If we cut off dealings suddenly, they're bound to be unhappy too.
All right, I'll leave the rest up to you, then.
You did a good job today.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I'll go ahead and take this over to a company who had contacted us. I called a company, who had previously expressed interest in doing business, and arranged for a visit. A corp is part of the same group of companies as Z Corp. So, the product is the same, and they'll likely just take over directly from a company. We've lost Z Corp as a trading partner, but I have no choice but to move on and look forward to the next. As planned, I managed to schedule an appointment with President Jones 3 days later. I'll be heading over to a company, then. I'll make sure to secure the contract.
Counting on you, John. It's all in your hands.
I was sent off by the president, holding a cardboard box, and got into the sales car. I arrived smoothly at a company and went to the reception.
Sorry, but I've been instructed to refuse from above.
Shockingly, I was told that I wouldn't be able to see the president. Why is that?
I'm just following orders from the president.
No, wait, that doesn't make sense. I have an appointment with the president of a company. He said there was time in 3 days. I can wait if he is busy. However, the receptionist simply shook her head. This is bad. I've got expectations from my own president, and I boasted about securing a contract. As I was panicking, Mr. Smith appeared from inside, holding a cardboard box.
Well, well. If it isn't John. What are you doing here?
He seemed very pleased with himself, acting all high and mighty.
Could it be, the other company you mentioned was a company?
Yeah, but why are you here?
Because it's part of our group. I didn't expect you'd reach out to a company in our group. I thought you were smarter than that. It seems I was wrong.
Why are you here? Even if it's a group company, you shouldn't be involved.
Oh, it's simple. I came to advise that it's better not to deal with K Company. Even if trading is free, there's no need to associate with a clearly problematic company. It's advice before our group company suffers a loss. But don't worry. I didn't say to absolutely avoid dealing. Maybe the president of a company will change his mind, or he might say he doesn't care about what I said. It might depend on your skills too. If you're confident, then go ahead and try. I wish you the best.
Wait, please. By the way, what's in that cardboard box?
HM. Oh, this? It's defective products that came from your screws. I didn't want to say anything bad, but turns out, we were handed just these defects.
Don't talk nonsense. We inspect before delivery. Sure, defects happen, but we wouldn't just deliver them.
Well, it's true they were in there. Twisting facts isn't good, you know. Anyway, showing them was enough to make them understand. Ah, K Company does things this carelessly.
That's impossible. Then, show me those screws.
Hey, don't joke. Are you planning on hiding the evidence or something? Why would I show them to someone capable of such dishonesty?
I've been on the field too. Let me see if they are truly defective.
Don't talk nonsense. Even if your products passed your checks, by our standards, they were defective. Parts that even slightly deviate can cause big problems. Imagine if such products went to market. The complaints wouldn't come to you but to us. Don't talk carelessly without understanding that. Just seeing your face makes me feel sick. I'll be leaving now. Do struggle till the end.
I can't just stand around doing this. That I thought I had to explain to President Jones quickly and tried to talk to the receptionist again, but still, I couldn't even get a meeting, and it seemed their intention not to deal with K Company was firm. So, I tried calling, but they wouldn't even entertain the conversation.
I'm sorry, but we won't be doing business with your company.
Please, just hearing us out would be enough. Can't we meet just once? The call ended without a response. Mr. Smith was chuckling with delight.
Ah, that was quite the show. Just brilliant, John. Well, it's tough, but keep it up, yeah. You must be stuck with a ton of inventory. You should have just kept it cool and negotiated with us. This is a classic case of a bad decision on your part. But hey, that's life. Hang in there.
With that, Mr. Smith left while carrying a large cardboard box that I was left racking my brain about what to do next. At it was only later that I realized what Mr. Smith had left behind. After he left, something odd was found on the ground. A month after that incident, somehow, our company didn't go under and was managing just fine. Rumors had spread that the screws we had taken to a company were defective. Because of that, our company faced a huge crisis. Ah, this month was tough.
Yeah. We were swamped with complaints from clients, faced contract terminations, and compensation claims. But somehow, we made it through and avoided bankruptcy.
The whole team visited our clients to vouch for our products' quality and reliability. We decided to re-examine our inspection process just to be sure.
It was a hassle to recall and check the screws we had shipped, but of course, we found no faults. And rightly so, because the defective screws Mr. Smith took to a company had a surprising truth hidden within them.
Anyway, thanks to our efforts to make amends, we gradually regained trust, which was great. I thought we were finally out of the woods. But then, unexpected visitors showed up. It was none other than President Wilson and Mr. Smith from Z Corp.
We sincerely apologize for the trouble we caused. I wondered who it was. So it's you. We've already concluded our business, haven't we? What do you want now? Dropping by unannounced isn't like you. If you had something to discuss, you should have informed us in advance so we could prepare. No preparation is necessary. There's only one thing we ask of you. Just accept our apology. We're sorry for the sudden request, but could you please drop the lawsuit? Ah, so it's about that. You must have received the notice we sent a while ago and checked it today. So, you rushed over here, and now you expect forgiveness. No matter what, intentionally causing another company to manufacture the same screws as ours and deliberately making them defective is unforgivable, isn't it?
Exactly. How could we easily forgive you for intentionally tarnishing our product's reputation?
I understand your point. But the whole situation was Mr. Smith's unilateral action. However, the document we received accuses Z Corp as a whole. Can't we resolve this with just Mr. Smith being held accountable? We'll make sure he takes full responsibility. That's impossible. After all, we've suffered because of Mr. Smith, and he went out of his way to create something like this, even going so far as to take it to a company and to engage in hate speech.
The president pulled out a screw from his pocket.
If John hadn't found this screw, who knows what would have happened? We might have gone bankrupt. He found it when he met you at a company. Mr. Smith, this is the screw you dropped, right?
I don't know what you're talking about.
That day, when Mr. Smith left, I heard a metal object fall and looked up to see a screw falling from the cardboard box. It was one of the so-called defective products Mr. Smith brought to a company to warn them about us.
And what about it?
But, it seemed different from the screws we make. When I showed it to the president, he immediately knew it wasn't ours. It was identified as an F Company screw. Isn't our president amazing? He can tell which company made a screw by the way its threads are cut.
After looking at screws for so long, you start to notice the quirks of craftsmen from each factory. The way the threads on this screw are cut, it's unmistakably the work of an artisan from F Company. Convinced, we paid a visit to F Company.
Gradually, the color drained from Mr. Smith's face. He turned pale and began to tremble. He clearly terrified that his deeds had been discovered. He seemed utterly desperate.
At first, the employees at F Company were silent, probably tightly instructed by Mr. Smith to keep quiet. Yet, after persistently questioning them about such a malicious act, I wondered if doing this didn't actually lower their own company's standing. Eventually, they opened up.
The employees at F Company must have felt guilty for participating in acts that insulted craftsmen.
Indeed, it was Mr. Smith who was involved in this matter. And it was he who instigated it. It's unbelievable that Mr. Smith resorted to harassment like this. Moreover, this not only tarnished our company but also brought down F Company. By agreeing to such requests, he cast a shadow over his own character. Mr. Smith, can you take responsibility for this? You've not only damaged our reputation but also that of F Company. And if this were to come out, naturally, Z Corp's shares would suffer too. Not to mention, a company, who believed Mr. Smith's story, would also be affected. Did you really want to hurt John that badly? Was what our John did so wrong?
It wasn't about being wrong. I just wanted to give John a hard time. I never expected it to escalate into such a big issue. I deeply regret it now. It was just a moment of folly. I couldn't have imagined it would turn into such a serious matter. So please, spare me from the lawsuit. I'll leave the company voluntarily.
This isn't something that can be resolved by a simple apology. This isn't a children's quarrel. This is a matter that affects the survival of companies, and beyond that, it impacts consumers. You rushed into this without considering those consequences. Couldn't you have been a bit more thoughtful?
I'm truly sorry. Not just to Mr. Williams, but to everyone affected.
Well, sending evidence that you had F create the fakes, and Mr. Wilson bringing Mr. Smith here after seeing it, shows some remorse. But still, there's much that's unforgivable. An apology doesn't restore lost trust. That's something not only applicable to us, but also to others. However, well, the reason I'm upset isn't just that. There's more. Mr. Smith, what have you done?
I have no idea what you're talking about, Mr. Williams. Please, no more lies. What benefit would it bring you to send us your misdeeds? K Company has its strengths without needing to resort to lawsuits. After all, you have plenty of clients.
I'm angry about our craftsmen's skills being underestimated.
Excuse me.
You tried to have someone else manufacture the products we pride ourselves on making, without knowing the care and effort our craftsmen put into their work. I can't stand such a disdainful attitude. And as I said before, your problems don't end there, do they?
I don't know. I haven't done anything else.
Is that so? Well, if you say so. Hey, John, Mr. Smith doesn't seem to get it. It might be faster if we just show him directly. Please, bring out that thing.
At the president's request, I took out a cell phone. It contained evidence of Mr. Smith's misdeeds.
If you still play dumb after hearing this, you might as well get your ears checked.
With the president's signal, what started playing was the conversation when the president and I visited F Company. Hearing it, Mr. Smith couldn't stand anymore, and he crumbled to the ground, holding his head. The audio that came from the smartphone accused Mr. Smith of misappropriating screws from K Company.
Mr. Smith, what on earth have you done? Anyone would say this is a crime. Selling K Company's screws as your own product. If this gets out, we could be finished.
I'm really sorry.
Look, this isn't a problem that can be resolved with a simple apology. You were skimming off the inventory and selling it under the table. No wonder you demanded price reductions to John. If you're going to engage in this kind of shady business, you'd better make sure the purchase price is as low as possible. Still, it's astonishing how long he managed to deceive everyone. Even though Z Corp had its own screws, that just complicated matters. But the fact remains that you were deceiving people. How could you do such things with a straight face? If I were in your shoes, I'd be constantly on edge, wondering when I'd get caught. Mr. Smith, do you really have no conscience? What was your plan if this all came to light? Were you going to pretend to take responsibility and then resign? Let me make it clear, we will not forgive you. It's insulting to our craftsmen. Every craftsman has pride in their work. It's one thing to be imitated for a good reason, but this is unacceptable. Craftsmen are sending out products as K Company's screws. To have them used for selfish business practices by another company, it's disheartening for them. And, of course, we will not forgive Z Corp for not seeing through your barbaric actions. Mr. Smith, it's certainly your fault, but Z Corp is also to blame for not noticing your odd behavior. Just so you know, we're aware of the company you diverted to. You introduced them to F Company in exchange for having them manufacture fake screws. We've tracked it all down. Probably, the payments from that company were made in cash to avoid leaving a trail. But a tax audit would have uncovered it eventually. You really can't think beyond the immediate future. It's unfortunate for Z Corp, but there's no helping it. We need compensation for the losses we've suffered. Your company may have many employees, but we also have staff who have families to support. For their sake, we can't back down on this issue. Thanks to Mr. Smith's misdeeds, the craftsmen who lost their jobs are now laughing and saying it's time to take a break, though they're likely worried about the future. It's my duty to alleviate those fears.
We understand. We'll do everything we can to compensate K Company for the lost sales and damages, as well as to restore its reputation among clients. And of course, Mr. Smith won't just be allowed to resign voluntarily. He will be dismissed and made sure he doesn't appear before your company again.
Wait, please. I'm almost 50 years old, you know. If I get dismissed at this age, I'll never find another job. Please, Mr. Wilson, can't we make it a voluntary resignation?
Shut up. Do you realize how much trouble you've caused? We're not letting you off easy. Mr. Williams, I'm sorry, but please let this be enough. We'll also inform a company that this was all Mr. Smith's doing.
All right. That's acceptable. Our priority is to protect our employees. John, you're okay with this?
Mr. Smith, I'm truly sorry. Please, tell them not to fire me. Mr. Smith was clinging to me, tears streaming down his face. Even seeing his face like that, I couldn't feel sorry for him. I'm sorry, but I can't say that. This is a matter between presidents. An employee like me can't go against their decision.
Well, that settles it. We won't be seeing you again, but let me say one last thing. People like you will never succeed or find happiness anywhere. Because you don't understand the hearts of others. You trample over people's feelings to benefit yourself. If you keep doing that, you'll eventually face the consequences. What will you do then?
Ridiculous. I've lived my way.
Is that so? Even now, you're unrepentant. That's hopeless.
What's wrong with me saying I don't like something I don't like?
Sure, you can say that. But is it right to fabricate lies to pursue your selfish desires? Mr. Smith had no comeback. Your family must be very sad.
That's right. I have a family to support. Please, stop this.
So, you need to support your family? Your lies nearly bankrupted my company.
And the factory workers too. There were days they couldn't even work.
You endangered the livelihoods of many employees. They all have families. After such a terrible act, how could you be easily forgiven?
Well, that's...
Anyway, what's decided is decided. Please accept your punishment gracefully. Goodbye, Mr. Smith. It might be hard, but do your best. Months later, Mr. Smith was dismissed from his job and, now in his mid-40s, has become a part-time worker. Currently, he seems to be barely making ends meet through day labor. Our company received apologies from a company in Z Corp, and we've begun trading again. That I'm busier than before, but every day I enjoy working, learning from the craftsmen.